I spend a lot of time these days driving the back roads of Arkansas with Butter riding shotgun, and the more miles I put on, the more something keeps jumping out at me. Where the food is and where it ain't. That's not a new idea for me. Back in the 1990s and early 2000s, when I was traveling the country doing youth violence work, I went into over 30 states. I talked to thousands of young people, teachers, cops, social workers, you name it. In all those places, different cities, different cultures, different problems, I kept seeing the same kids show up in the worst trouble. Most of them belonged to what I came to call the 5H Club. Helpless, hopeless, homeless, hungry, and hugless. 5 things that break a child long before the court system ever sees their name. And hunger was always right there in the mix. One afternoon in the 90s, I was sitting in my car in a rough neighborhood. A 10-year-old boy rode up on a bike that seemed a little too nice for the street we were on. He had one of those early flip phones, back when hardly anybody had one. We talked for a minute, and he finally told me, "My job is to watch for the police and call the dealers. They give me $50. Then he said, "I give $45 to my mama so she can buy groceries." A 10-year-old feeding his family by working lookout for drug dealers. That stayed with me my whole life. Fast forward to today. Different decade, different job, different tools, but I'm still paying attention to the same root issue. Where there's no food, there's always trouble. You don't need a government study to understand a food desert. If you're poor, your car is unreliable, and the nearest real grocery store is 20 or 25 miles away, you and I both know what that is. It's a food desert. You can't make good choices if you don't have good choices. You can't raise healthy kids on chips, soda, microwave mystery meat, and whatever you can find in a gas station warmer. Out on the back roads, these deserts jump out at you. Town after town with no grocery store, no produce, just convenience stores, liquor stores, and Dollar Generals. Now, we could talk about Walmart and the big chains, and they're part of this story too, but this conversation I want to zoom in on 2 players you see over and over in Arkansas, Aldi and Dollar General. We picked Aldi for one simple reason. We kept hearing they offered good food value on decent food, not fancy, but solid groceries that working families can actually afford. They're still relatively new in a lot of Arkansas, and that makes them interesting to watch. And we did not pull in every big supermarket chain because that turns into a 3-hour seminar. For this one, I just wanted to look at the contrast between a newer discount grocery like Aldi and the Dollar Generals that seem to be on every corner, especially in rural Arkansas. Aldi tends to show up in working class neighborhoods, places like North Little Rock, Fort Smith, Harrison, Jonesboro, Batesville. Not high-end, not gourmet, just steady stores where you can stretch a dollar and still get fresh produce and basics. Dollar General does something a little different. They go into rural America, counties where the hometown grocery store died 10 or 15 years ago, and now they're rolling out DG markets, which actually carry real groceries, produce, milk, meat, frozen food, stuff like that. Even the regular Dollar Generals, not the markets, just the basic DGs, are starting to stock a little fresh food. On one run this week, I stopped at 4 small stores out in the country. Every one of them had at least a few apples and bananas, maybe some onions or potatoes. No fresh meat, no real variety, but more than nothing. If you're a parent in a trailer halfway between 2 towns and your only choices have been chips, honey buns, and soda, being able to grab a couple of bananas for your kids is not nothing. Aldi and DG aren't really competing with each other. They're competing with emptiness, with the miles, with the gas tank that's already on E before you even start the trip. There's another piece of this story, though, that we don't talk about much. It's the people working in those stores. The cashier ringing up your discount groceries, the kid stocking produce, the assistant manager trying to keep the place running with a skeleton crew and a tight budget. At Aldi, a lot of store workers are making somewhere in the neighborhood of $17 or $18 an hour. At Dollar General, especially in some rural towns, you've got folks working the register for $9 to $12 an hour if they're lucky, and sometimes even less for part-timers. These men and women are literally on the front lines of hunger. They are the ones unlocking the doors in towns where there may not be any other place to get food at all. They see who's struggling. They see the kids come in after school with just enough money for one snack to share 3 ways. If those workers can't earn a living wage themselves, how long can that system hold? That's a whole other problem we need to dig into one day, and I've already tossed it into my hopper to look at. For now, here's the bottom line. Food deserts aren't abstract. They're real families, real miles, and real kids going to bed hungry. If we want to understand the condition of a community, any community, we don't start with politics or crime stats or the latest fight at the school board. We start with this simple question. How far does a parent have to drive to buy a damned apple? If that answer is 20 miles, that town is in trouble. I'm not preaching, I'm not running for anything. This story isn't about me. It's about that boy on the bike and the mamas at the Dollar General counter shaking out the last change they've got and the kids who grow up in the 5-H club, helpless, hopeless, homeless, hungry, and hugless. We can't fix everything, but we can at least try to understand it from top to bottom and maybe do a little better by each other. I'm Steve Navoychek, the 501 Coroner. Y'all be kind to each other, okay?